What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. We are at Greg Carter Memorial Disc Golf Course. And today we're gonna see, can we keep it 1,000? But before we dive in, we have to ask, how you doing today, Joey? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
Alrighty, so for those of you who are newer or unfamiliar with this series, in this series of Keep It 1000, I am trying to go around my local disc golf courses and see, can I shoot 1,000 rated golf at each and every course in town? I'll go ahead and add the caveat there that it's not each and every course. I would say if I had to describe Birmingham disc golf in 2 words, it would be elevation technical. We don't really have a lot of bomber courses per se, but we definitely have short technical courses to try to really dial in those distances, which when I think about that being the world that I sort of learned disc golf, I found disc golf in Birmingham in 2012 and have been a Birmingham golfer ever since. Not a distance driver guy because Birmingham golf doesn't really ask me to be a distance driver guy. I believe almost every single hole at this course has 3 pin locations, which is why it almost didn't even make the list in terms of doing this challenge, because it's really hard to nail down what pin position everything is in. And because of that, if you guys, as you've seen in the ratings debacle that's been the struggle of this series, how am I supposed to accurately read the ratings, because the conditions are going to change, the people in the field are going to change, so many factors. But the weekend of July 6th, they had the Firecracker Fling, and the MPO field played this layout specifically, and our target today is 10 under par. This will be the last course, I'm pretty sure, that we have to shoot double digits under par in order to achieve that 1,000 rated round. Now, what's super interesting about shooting 1,000 rated rounds of golf, and something that's different, I know that courses have handicaps in golf, but if you think about it, a traditional par in golf is going to be 72. So when you tell people, oh, I'm a scratch golfer or I shoot par consistently, people know what to expect. Whereas if I went and told someone that I shot 10 down here, and then I also tell them that I shot 10 down on Inverness Blues, the pro layout at Inverness, those are 2 wildly different numbers. But to the person who doesn't know disc golf, they would feel like, okay, 10 down just seems to be a regular score. So there's 2 types of pressure on this course. The first is that this course and I have a negative mental health relationship. People who are local to here will say that the course cauterizes them instead of, like you're bleeding out and you get a room cauterized. Cauterized is where this short technical course just beats you up, because while the distances are not insane on most of the holes, what is being demanded of you is quite high. Almost all of the shots require 200 to 250 at least worth of distance down tunnels that are 10 feet wide, usually at most. So you're gonna end up throwing a lot of straight tunnel shots and asking yourself, can I just do that 18 times in a row? And when I fail to do that, not if, but when I fail to do that, how bad of a kick do I get, and how well am I able to scramble? Have I been cauterized? Now, the second bit of pressure that I feel on this is because TK, the guy that oversees it, works in Parks and Rec. Well, the Parks and Rec department, they're actually located off to the side of hole 16. So because of that, the baskets get moved around quite often. So I know that the layout we are currently in, I know what it takes to get to 1,000. But as things shift around, that could be difficult. So we'd really like to nail it down today and try to do a 1 shot, 1 opportunity. Everything I've ever wanted, 1 moment. I'm gonna try to capture it and not let it slip. My palms are sweaty, but that's probably the humidity. But the third and final piece of pressure, because we've built up and we set the table a lot here, is that when we had our trip to San Diego, I'm filming this on July 15th. When I'm filming this, we got back from San Diego, beautiful trip. A librarian at the conference that Lindsay was going to knowingly showed up to that conference with COVID and brought COVID. So many people walked away from that conference and got COVID and got sick, my wife and myself included, which made my birthday as an extrovert a bit of a bummer, because my wife had already tested positive and I had not, so we quarantined away from each other. Yeah. So I have actually not played a round of disc golf since I was in San Diego, and we got back from San Diego on July 2nd. So I am almost 2 full weeks from having played, and I haven't really felt that great, so I haven't been putting practice either. So we're gonna hope that subconscious memory and muscle memory and confidence comes back on the putting green really fast, because if we can throw decent and putt well today, I think we can achieve the goal. For a bag update, we put a new pig in the bag for our overstable pig slot. We have the if it's good in the bag pigs. We have a new throwing putter in the bag, and trying this out in place of the wizard. My birdie balloon wizards, when I'm really hitting them, are holding pretty straight and they have a stable finish, but it's just a little straighter than I wanted for a throwing putter right now. And then the other wizard that I have is really overstable. So we have this nameless disc that once had a spot in my bag. No, it's not a Berg. Instead of the Justice, we have the Hazard in there right now. That should be, oh, the Tunnel Shot is not in there. The Polecat is back in. So we're excited to see what we can do here. Nothing like starting off with a doozy. Basket is just dead straight right up there. Once again, our little tunnel shot, you got to go uphill into the tunnel. Key sign says 182, but that's from the short pin. We are on the long pad. When the long pads are there, I think we're going to be playing all of them because that's the layout they played. So it's 210 uphill to the basket. We're going to start off with Precious Child, just try to get some confidence going and rip this thing up the hill. And that should be pretty perfect to start. I mean, honestly, make it into that gap and get a majority of the way up, you're taking a 3 at worst solid start. Honestly, this is, in terms of saying, oh, the putter confidence may not be there, that's your dream. Personally, this might be a hot take, but I love to have like a 25 footer for my first putt of the round, because at 25 feet, I believe I have the competency to make it. I feel stretched. I feel like I've got a high percentage chance of making it. And I know if I make it, confidence is just soaring for the day, as opposed to, let's say you go through the first 5 holes and they're either tap-in putts or they're like no chance, you're just kind of run it up there. Then you start getting some putts that matter later on in the round and it's a little nervy. So yeah, I mean, we'll take tap-ins. We'll take for this series especially, we'll take some tap-ins. 195 feet downhill. This is why happy to have the Polecat back in the bag. This is one hole that I was thinking like tunnel shot's good. Tunnel shot, I think, just had a little too much stability that made me really dicey between the Precious Child and it. That's why I'm Precious Child up there, so I knew I could yam on it and it still would be a pig at the very, very, very end of, at least pig-like. This, once it gets over, probably isn't coming back. We got all the way down there. Unfortunately, we got all the way down there. So we're past the basket. We're gonna hope that we hit something behind the basket. So we didn't hit anything. We came right through here and just kept falling down the hill. We're gonna try to go Anheuser. There is a tree that I gotta stay inside, so I don't know if I can give this a proper float. Okay, easy tap in 3. And we're off to the next hole. So thinking about this course, there are 2 holes that come to mind that I'm thinking to myself, I'm not trying to get a birdie on them. One of those holes is extremely pin position dependent, and this is one of them. I would say one of the coolest greens in the greater Birmingham area, but it's just, in order to birdie it, you have to basically throw it down this 10-foot wide tunnel, and then there's a 4-foot wide gap between the trees straight ahead, and you have to pure that 150 feet away from you and then hope that it continues straight and then make an elevated putt. We're gonna see how the forehand's feeling. First throw with the new in the bag, if it's good, pig. She is stable. I just hung it way too wide. So I think that even if we hadn't hit this tree, I just didn't trust myself. I kept it too low. I think it would have faded right into this big rock and been blocked from the basket anyways. If I go the forehand like out and around, I bring a couple trees into play, whereas here is much more straight look. It's just an angle. It's a more sensitive angle to throw, but we're gonna try that. Oof. Thought we were about to dunk it. I faded around the basket again. Next hole, 170 feet It's uphill, off to the right, very uphill. Says 170 feet. Traditionally, I feel like I can get a pig up there, but I feel like I gotta mush the pig. So my play is to go felon actually, which may feel so crazy on a sub 200 foot hole to go with a 9-speed. But I like the 9-speed because I feel like I can just kind of smooth it up there and then let the overstability and the fast driver side of it kind of take over and just skirt my way in. You kind of got to give this one some height because there's a bunch of those rocks that you can see, the big rock and there's a short rock. Between those are a bunch of small ones that are going to stop you from being parked on the basket. So the more height you give it, the better chance you have of actually parking it. And that just sailed right over the basket. From our angle down there, it looked like we went over the basket, but we were just shy of it. Sorry for the huffing and puffing. It is 91 degrees today, super high humidity, and so much elevation change on this course. 280 feet all the way down there, tunnel shot. This one, the gaps are like, when I talk about 10-foot gaps, this is an interesting one for those 10-foot gaps because you have like the gap between the right side here and the left side there, I would say is about 10 feet, but there's probably 50 feet of distance between the right side and the left side. So the gap like the tunnel, if you want to throw it straight down there, stays narrow the whole time, but it's like obstacle, 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 if that makes sense. Like it's sort of this V between them. Once you get through the initial gap, the miss is somewhat left, although there is a road down there. So I'm gonna go in the bag origin. So buttery, guys. It was so buttery. Just a little bit nose up so that it would turn and be an origin, but nose up enough that it wouldn't keep turning because we're going downhill. So I wanted to kind of air brake it downhill. Guys, if we're birdieing hole 5, that's feeling great. I'm really hoping that I didn't speak the prophecy into existence on the green of the first hole. Let's say you go through the first 5 holes and they're either tapping putts or they're like no chance, you're just kind of run it up there. Then you start getting some putts that matter later on in the round and it's a little nervy. So yeah, I mean, we'll take tap-ins. We'll take for this series especially, we'll take some tap-ins. Here's to hoping. We just are good at putting anyways. I have a feeling that this one is going to be very difficult to get eyes on. This is in the 187-foot position. There is a creek behind the basket. It's only OB if you're surrounded by water, and the creek is traditionally dried up. And with as hot as it is, I feel the creek's dried up. So we can give this one a chance and get it down there. I'm gonna go Precious Child. It's 187 feet, like I said, but you can just see it's a tunnel the whole way. For about the first 120 feet, it needs to hold dead straight, but then it needs to have a nice gentle fade. So I'm gonna try to go a baby hyzer and let it just stand up a little bit right down there, get my tee box geometry right. I was doing tee box geometry back right, and if I move front left, it would have forced me into a hyzer, but I would have had to be pulling it across, which would have caused me to yank it right. So I'm actually, I guess that's more the anhyzer. I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go center to sort of front, center right. Nope, 2 inside. There it was. It didn't hit for a minute, so I feel like we probably got pretty good distance down there. Should be easy to pitch it up to the basket. I didn't commit on that shot. I see an angle up there to try to get me close to the basket. I think that's too tight. There's a bunch of thin stuff. I think it's gonna be the hammer up high, yeah, and let it sort of try to slide to the basket. Okay. The boss. Bang. I can be even more confident than that. It was a downhill putt, and I was like, match the downhill. That putt felt really good, super flat. Try to think about the positives and channel those positives it'll really help boost that mental confidence as you continue. Here, basket's off to the right, 173 feet. We're gonna try to throw a pig on some hyzer. We're going, if it's good pig, throw it on some hyzer, see if we can't get it up there into the green. Perfect. So we kind of cheated by giving it a little more height, we can flirt a little more and we don't have to worry so much because it wants to fade. Because we gave the disc height, it still gets its opportunity to fade, but we don't have to throw it so flat and so hard. So just alternate options if you're finding yourself struggling throwing overstable discs straight in the woods. Adjust the angles. Now I said 5 was my second least birdied hole on the course. This next hole, hole 8, has to be my least birdied hole on the course. It's the real crusher hole. There's not a stitch of like obstacle in the way, but it's, I mean, directly vertical, huge elevation roll away potential. Getting a 2 on this one feels phenomenal. So why is this hole the crusher? Because it's all the way up there on top of the hill. What's that song? On top of Old Smoky, all covered in mud. Yeah, 302 feet. I do not think it's an exaggeration to say that it's 100 feet of elevation change top to bottom of the hill. We're gonna go with my H5. The reason I've got the H5 in the bag right now is because I feel like it's a little flippier but longer ozone. So when going super uphill, I love to go pretty understable. Here we go. We're throwing far. Doesn't mean we have to throw hard, just fast. I legitimately don't know how I'm going to film from the middle of that hill. This is me setting my bag flat and relativity to the disc. You can see the angle. I think we're going pig, and we're just going up and over. No idea in relation to the basket where that is. So we definitely hit up here and dropped our way in. Saving pars, saving pars. We should need 6 more. 6 more birdies. Let's go. Now this right here, I think is one of the prettiest tee shots in all of Birmingham. It is 301 feet. I love a good uphill hole because then you can always like bounce back with the downhill option. So you get this beautiful shot from the woods out into a wooded glen or a little cove. So we want something that's gonna hold straight and then kind of push in and fade at the end. Pigs are a great option here. I'm just a little worried, so I'm gonna go with this Ghost stamped Discraft disc, AKA a Luna from, I believe it was last year's Tour Series. Oof, not enough juice. I really like the line. I just didn't give it enough pop. That's on me. Looks like Storm is possibly rolling in, so we got to keep balling out. This section, you can either get lucky and I push through the backside. I have like a low stinger at it, but it's uphill. So I think I'm gonna go sort of mid. I'm not gonna like pop it, but I can't go my traditional putt because there's a branch in the way. And I think if I go up and over, it won't have time to drop in. So we got to kind of step her through. Here we go. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, I really want to try the up and over, but in operation, try to keep it legit. That one stinks. That's definitely a birdie potential hole. I just didn't give the Luna enough. I mean, if I gave the Luna 10 more feet of power, it pushes into the gap and skids up the hill. And I've got a wide open putt. 160 feet, hole 10. It's a tight little tunnel. I mean, this thing is like 8 feet at its its widest, I guess. People get baited into throwing something super overstable to get the fade. Even if you throw it dead straight for 160 feet, you've got a 20-footer. So not an issue. What is an issue, we're starting to run and hike it between holes because I'm the farthest point away from the car. I'm hot. I actually feel like I'm very dehydrated, and it's a race against the rain. We're going Precious Child because That way we get the best of both worlds. We get a tiny bit of stability, but also we can just throw it straight. And there we go. Throw it straight, got a little bit of flip up, but that stability of Precious Child just kept pushing it a little left the slow the whole way. Should be under the basket. So fun little fact for Robbie Sir Trivia. I probably have, and we're talking first shot aces, I probably have over 10 pig aces, but I have no polecat aces ever. And that Precious Child has also never aced. So the thing about this course is there's a lot of easy gettable holes. So I like try to throw a pig and polecat as much as I can here and just hopes to break that seal and get one. Next up, hole 11. This is 199 feet. It's downhill. Basket sits in the dead middle of the hill. I'm so very bad at this hole. It's a turnover, but there's like the storm's coming in and the wind is pushing this way. I'm gonna try to just, I'm actually not gonna go if it's good pig. Probably actually gonna go straight pig. It didn't make it over. It got pushed a little too much. Maybe I should have gone with the more overstable pig. I hit the last tree I had to miss. We've got the ISO cranked up. I'm really putting a heavy workload on my boy Side Guy because it's getting dark up here, y'all. Here we go. Whew, the polecat's back in the bag, but it just keeps loving moving around the right side. Just gotta aim it closer to the basket. This hole comes in 200 feet. It's a tunnel. Very, very similar shot to what we did on hole 10, where we wanna go straight with just a little bit of hyzer. If we go dead straight for 200 feet, we have a 25 footer coming back at the basket. So I'm gonna put in a little more hyzer, floater up there, and hopefully with the wind crossing like this, once it gets up there, it just pushes it. Okay, so it did all of the things that I said it would do in terms of being pushed. I just wasn't ready for it to literally get carried that hard to the right. Okay. If we don't get rained out, we're gonna finish. But if we don't get rained out with this much wind, I mean, you can see stuff just floating across. I think the line's gonna drop. We still have the 2 open holes. We have a few open holes where the wind's gonna be ripping even harder. The woods will stop protecting us here shortly. Yeah, you can just see even that polecat look like a pig at the end of its flight. Am I afraid for my life? No. Do I feel like these woods have been around long enough that there's a couple widowmakers out here? For sure. It's 181 feet. It's gonna fade in the direction of where the storm's coming from. Would really like to get this one. We hit a tree because it held super straight, which makes sense in light of storm. We got a kick in the right direction, so hopefully we kicked closer to the basket. We can make a birdie here. That'll put us at 6. And I think we can get a few more of the last ones. Yep, I'll go ahead and tell you, that's gross. Because we hit that tree and it kicked us. It just shows right disc choice that we pushed over here. I will say I'm gonna have to chalk because that one definitely was in my head, the humidity plus a little bit of moisture because it's starting to rain on us. My fingers are super sticky. All right, 214 feet. This hole makes like a Y, baskets off to the left. I feel like if we get to 8 in these conditions, I'm feeling phenomenal about it. I feel like if I get to 8 in these conditions, I'm feeling great about it. Here we go. The content for you guys. Oh, okay, we gotta make a long putt. Woo! We're just trying to lay this up Just trying to lay it up so that we can continue the quest. Live to fight another day. Okay. That's a par, but you know what? Pars don't feel that bad when lightning strikes that close to you and you're just thinking to yourself, hashtag blessed, hashtag grateful, hashtag I'm not lightning proof. Please don't turn me into the Flash today, lightning. This hole, 196 feet, straight down a tunnel. Straight is the key here. Yeah, just push straight. If it fades, I think that's fine, but realistically, straight is the key. That's phenomenal. Phenomenal. It hit something while it was down there. Phenomenal. Chalking up, you can see that's the Parks and Rec department, or their buildings for like all the lawnmower maintenance stuff. Guys, we are nervous. Hard to tell what the wind's doing coming off of here. Like it's been blowing this direction, so I'm afraid that it's gonna stand this up all the way. But it's 258 feet. There's a Mando marked on a tree down there. You gotta go left of it, but there's realistically this like main highlighted gap right up the gut that you're trying to hit. If you can get the disc down there, should be pretty straightforward. Should hopefully result in a birdie. And that is everything we wanted. I got a little distracted because a squirrel ran across and I thought that the squirrel was my disc being kicked backwards and right. That makes sense that a squirrel was running backwards and right. I'm so nervous about the last two holes. I mean, is this round invalid based on the fact that if it were a PDGA sanctioned round, as soon as that first crack of lightning happened, they would have suspended play for 30 minutes? Possibly. But if the lightning stays and the wind doesn't, we've got a chance to birdie the last two holes. Call it a poor education, call it whatever you may. I don't know when I'm not, like my car is like a 5-minute walk that way. I'd have to like be sprinting past into a wide open field. The thunder is directly on top of us, directly on top of us. This hole is 280 feet where these cars are driving and the stop sign's down there. We want to throw at the stop sign and then fade in and skip off the road to try to get a skip towards the basket. So we're going to add a little bit of distance by going wide, but we're also going to hopefully enjoy the downhill and get a skip. And that's going to take off a ton on the disc. So we're going to have a really long look for the birdie here. Basket's there. We should have hung it more wide. I think if we would have hung it a little wider, I actually think we're like not far off of it in terms of having the distance right. I just think that one tree being wet took off a lot of the power. So we're gonna go like a little stabby spinner at it, or outside circle, a little stabby spinner, and try to see if we can't. I would have liked that. I would have liked that. I would have liked to just win it outright. But if we can birdie the last hole, it'll be up to you in the comments to decide, do we come back and hit it again? Or do we move past this course to our next one, which would be Inverness. Wait for it. Under the tree. Okay, I think we're good. Move fast, move fast, move fast. All right, it's 303 feet. Conditions have certainly become worse. It's out there, it's behind, on the hillside, little tree. There's a basket behind it, it's 313 feet. Let's see what we can do. It's not great what we've got going for the camera situation right now. I'm gonna try to give us one good forehand. It's up there. We've got a putt. Let's see if we can close it out with a -9. All right, Topanga. This is our time, our moment to shine together. Happy thoughts. We're not worried about the rain, thunder, lightning. It's just gonna be sick when we make this putt. Come on. Okay, -9. I think the cloth has fallen in front of the camera. That's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Wildest Keep It 1000 yet, -9. We didn't quite get the goal. You guys let me know if these conditions were enough to count it or if we're coming back here. Much love. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I care about you. Hopefully this shows it. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. Stay dry, stay out of the thunder and lightning. Do not try this at home. In the meantime, for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.